So, hi, Vinay.
Hi, good morning.
You have been in this role for nearly 2 years now. What motivated you the most about working for Cure Systems?
I think with Kira, it was the technology, the user centricity of the technology, the power of change that it brings to the profession of law. Quite frankly, how underrated it was. I think it was in need of marketing. It was a company that had built up a great customer base through organic word of mouth and founder-led sales cycles, and had a pretty modest sales team. A lot of the growth traditionally had been driven by the customers who just loved the product and couldn't get enough of it. It needed someone to come in here and go and start shouting from the top of the roofs and doing some marketing. I always like to see that balance between great tech, great fit with the founders and the cultural aspects of the company, as well as that underrated quality of it, because that's where I can see where I can make the most impact.
Can you just explain really briefly what exactly does Curious do?
Our mission is really to enlighten the world's enterprises by enabling them to know what's in their contracts and documents. Very simple. But we have a machine learning technology that's able to go and extract insight, contracts, documents, and really try to derive the meaning that's in them and help our customers be able to get there faster.
B2B marketing is often mainly about relationships. How do you build strong relationships with relevant decision makers?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of change happening in B2B as we speak. So I think traditionally it's always been really associated with a large enterprise relationship-based sell. You think about SAP, you think about some of those companies, and there's a lot of field sales. But I think what's happening now is you're starting to see what people call the Amazonification or the Uberification. You pick your metaphor. You're starting to see a lot of consumerization of the B2B marketing model.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot more of the sales cycle is being done on a self-serve model where people are coming in and doing their research and really forming their opinions on what vendors they want to work with before they reach out to a field sales rep. So what that means is that we have to shift a lot more in our content strategy to enable them to make those decisions, not just on our website, but also on a lot of third-party influencing sites like review sites and things like that, because we know that people are going out there and doing that research. And when they come to us, they've already kind of made a decision. And so we're trying to figure out how do we use content in a strategic way to educate them on how people solve their problems. So I think that's a big shift that's happening in B2B. And although the relationship is still a very important aspect, especially as you start to progress the opportunity, the relationship also starts with a reputation and trust even before you even talk to them. Content and the community aspects of some of the stuff that we're doing with you guys, with the roundtables, right? Like those type of things are all, ways that we're just reaching out and building content that builds trust and relationship even before the sales cycle.
In relation to that, it has been a tough year for anything event related. As a result, do you feel you have had fewer opportunities to market your product this year?
I did feel that way, and there's definitely an impact on our volume of leads. But it was definitely a shock, and we had to shift very quickly to the digital virtual world. But I think it's also a little bit of a blessing too, because everyone talks about going digital, but when you have all these big, large events and trade shows, you have abundance, right? So you don't need to go and really think about it. And so what this did is it forced us to really think about a digital go-to-market and what that looks like. We just kind of redefined ourselves and started to create a calendar of virtual events and content marketing and digital and stuff like that. And we're not doing that bad, right? So we've been able to pivot really, really well. And now, when things get back to normal one day, the digital is going to be our core, right? And then the events will just be amplifications of that core. And so I think, although it was a bit of a shock in Q2, just the door shutting on us, it just forced us to find new ways that I think are more sustainable long term.
Hopefully we were able to help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was because we knew you guys as being a physical event provider, and then when you guys came to us with a virtual, we're like, hey, let's give it a shot.
So one last question before we go: what is one career advice that you've received as a marketing leader that's been particularly valuable to you?
I think that the challenge with marketing is that the technology is advancing in such a rapid state that you can never really truly be an expert and put your flag up and say, okay, I'm a marketing expert. Like the stuff that I was doing 3 years ago, 6 years ago, all the channels, everything has changed. You just have to keep on learning, because every year you're just going to have to adjust to buyer preferences, adjust to economy stuff that happens like today. You just have to have a learner's mindset. Listen to your podcast. You got to connect with your community. You have to do your reading. You have to go to the conferences just to stay on top. If you have that growth mindset, it's a great gig for you. Still not an expert, but continue to try.
That's really good advice. Well, I think that brings us to a close. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Vinay, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time.
Absolutely. Thank you.